It's that time again. All things DME. Today we're going to fly the DME ARC, a custom-made DME ARC that's in one of my previous videos. And today's flight we're going to use the Baron 58 using the HSI. Now I know I've heard people say I'd rather walk on a hotbed of coals before I have to fly a DME ARC. Or given a choice, maybe walk a tightrope across the Grand Canyon without any experience before you fly a DME ARC. But really, all joking aside, they're not that bad and they're not evil. So I want to kind of explore some things flying this custom-made DME ARC that I created in Little Navmap. I did it just for practicing, so I could use the different medias and venues of different types of airplanes just to practice flying a local DME ARC that I created in varying wind conditions and varying weather conditions. So again, DMEs, I don't know. If you ask me if they're very difficult, to me, with a little bit of situational awareness, I think they're very straightforward. You know what's more evil to me is flying an NDB approach, which brings me to the thought that I have a feeling that I'm going to try to look for a DME ADF ARC somewhere in the United States. But once again, you know, this maneuver is in the PTS. Even though you might not have a DME ARC in the area for a practical test, you'll be tested on it in the written, and you might be asked questions about it during your oral exam. But for the most part, the simulator is a great way to practice this DME ARC when there is none available. So let's go ahead. I'm going to talk about this more as we fly. I'm going to go ahead and get the airplane started. So welcome to X-Plane 12 once again. I know time to time I like to enhance my experience, and that's by adding plugins or new programs to enhance some of the stuff that I already have. Occasionally I'm going through YouTube looking at some of the X-Plane forums and people and content providers who do work with X-Plane and provide some of that information with you. But I would like to just pause my simulator here for a moment. And I know I was looking for some nighttime enhancements, and I came across a YouTube content provider that really kind of spelled out some really neat add-ons and so forth. So I just want to give a shout out to Snailmail7 and introduce you to his YouTube channel. I'm going to go ahead and pause my channel at this point. I'm going to bring his, this is like my in-flight movie, if you would say. So instead of me talking and rambling about his content, you can see right here is his channel. So let me go ahead and just clean this screen up here real quick and introduce you to his channel. This is X-Plane 12, 3 free add-ons you need. And what a great explanation on this. What a great enhancement. And I found after watching many of his videos that this gentleman is the real deal. He only offers the best of the best that he finds out there that might work for enhancement of your flight simulator. So I'm constantly looking back and forth as his YouTube contents, and he does a really good job introducing general aviation and commercial aviation through his use of X-Plane 12. And to add to that, he's the real deal because he is a real certified private pilot, FAA certified. So he also brings a big dose of realism into the simulator world. So let me introduce to you Snailmail7, an X-Plane mentor of mine I watch, and I've actually used some of his trips, tips, and techniques. So let me give you just a moment. And I'm going to play a beginning intro to one of his most recent videos.
Do you want your night lights to look as amazing as these? Well, if you do, then this video is for you. Stick to the end, and I will show you what 3 add-ons you need to download. And I will also post a link in the description down below for those who cannot wait. Download these 3 add-ons, and you'll be able to have lights like this. But first, let me show you what it looks like. airport is JFK, and the airport is unmodified, with the exception of
well,
the add-on
there you
for the
go.
light.
Snail Mail 7.
The airport is JFK.
He even flies at some of the biggest airports in the world.
With the exception of the add-on for the lights. And I'm departing runway 31. Actually,
Okay, there you have it. That's Snail Mail 7. I'm going to proceed on to this flight later in the flight. I'll just give you a quick reminder, but hey, it's really worth your time. If you like his content, you know, give him a thumbs up when you watch a video, and be sure to subscribe to his channel. You know, a small channel, guys, every subscription helps, every thumbnail helps, and especially in the world of X-Plane simulation, as we bring real-world situations into this real world of simulating flying, coming to you both from myself, a certified ATP pilot, and also from Snail Mail 7, who is a certified private pilot that's very good flying his planes with basic instruments and even approaches and so forth. So hats off to you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate all your efforts out there.
Okay, so at this point,
in
let's
the
go ahead
world
and get
of,
the airplane
YouTube,
started.
so that we could fly this DME using this HSI. During the flight, we also have use of a secondary VOR, which is going to come out of nav number 2. So when we're flying on this HSI, I may be using this just to kind of reference and show you the difference between the two instruments. The previous flight we did, we had two OBS, two VORs, nav1, nav2, and we were in a single engine airplane. Here we're in the Baron, it's a bit faster, and we're going to be doing a 7 DME ARC. So if you stay with me, I'm going to show you some tips and some tricks on how to increase your situational awareness, how to know what heading to fly at any portion during the arc, and you know, like Kentucky windage, we're going to get you in the ballpark, all while maintaining altitude, airspeed, doing an approach brief, keeping the distance constant on the arc. Our goal is to stay within plus or minus 0.5, a half a nautical mile to the inside or to the outside. Okay, so without any further undue and rambling on me, I'm going to just go ahead and you can watch me do my pre-start and my starting of the engines with the Beech Baron 58 that you'll find within the X-Plane aircraft menus. Okay. First, you're going to do check fuel pumps or fuel selectors are both on. Mixtures are rich, props are forward, throttles are back. All electrics are off. At this point, I'm going to put my beacon light on, bring my master switch on. Mixtures are going to go full forward. Throttles, we're going to crack a bit. And let's come on with the left engine. Watching my fuel flow. Fuel flow goes up. It peaks at about 7 psi. And let's bring that left throttle back down. Starting the left engine. And fuel pump off. And mixture, we're going to go ahead and lean out for ground operation. Looking over to the right, everything is clear. Generally, I would yell out the window clear prop. So we got there, fuel pump is on. Throttle goes full forward. Fuel flow increases. All right. It peaked out. Throttle back. we can go with the fuel pump off at this point also. And let's go ahead and start number 2. Yeah, we got that little sucker spinning, so at this point, let's go ahead and lean that out. All lights are off. Okay, strobes are on, navs are on, beacons on, avionics on. Transponder, let's go to standby. I'll just leave it. You know what, I'm going to use 1200 for the, since we'll be VFR. Probably not going to use our scope. I'm going to go ahead and put my standalone DME unit on. Just run through my checklist. In there, fuel selectors we did check on there. Emergency gear, yep, we checked on that. Circuit breakers are all in and checked. We have them over here. I've already done this previously. This is there. Engine is started. Oops. We've already started the engines. Okay, cowl flaps we did verify they were open earlier. So the beacon's on, the brakes are set, throttles we all set. Okay, so that's kind of, I've done everything from memory at that point. All right, pre-taxi. Mixtures lean, instruments checked, everything is in the green. Transponder set, standby 1200. Let's go ahead and get our altimeter setting. Go over to ATIS. COM number 2. Two 981. All right, let's just go ahead and do our taxi check. One last check on here. Okay, all the circuit breakers are in, and we have Strobes are on, nav lights are on. We don't need our panel lights or floodlights, so we're good. Taxiway lights, landing lights, they are off at this time. Fuel boost pumps are off. Mixture is lean for ground operation. The autopilot is off. Yaw damper is off. Prop sync is off. Weather radar is on. Not needed. It's on test right now. Everything's in the green. The engines are warming up quite nicely. So at this point, and our temperatures are stabilizing. Like I said, feel free to fast forward into the next segment. I will put a break in the recording line there to show you where the next segment is. Brakes are coming on. I'm going to do a right turn into the run-up area. I'm using asymmetrical power. Here we are facing into the wind. Parking brakes on. Okay, in the run-up area, brakes are set in there. Trim, let's double check here, is in the takeoff position. A lot of times I just do a flow check, and then I come back and check it on the checklist in here. I had all this stuff pretty much memorized in there. Let's check here. All the instruments are in the green, looking good. Temperature is in the green, looking good. We do have good gyro pressure. So let's go ahead and bring our throttles on up to about 2200 RPM. We'll check our propellers. I'm going to do both of my propellers at the same time. RPM drops. RPM increases. No more than 500 is sufficient here. And one more. Now I'm going to bring my throttles down to looking at 1700 RPM. We're going to do a magneto check. So left engine first. Click over to the right. RPMs drop. Back to both. RPM drops on the left engine, and now it comes back up. Down here, I don't have a second ignition switch, so I have to use this one. Very finicky. So there's the right. Let's get that back up to both, and let's check the left. And it drops. And there's very little differential between the two of them, so we're in good shape. We did note the drop. It was just about 125. And let me go back to both with this. Very important to check. Now, once we're here, we're going to bring our throttles down to 1500 RPM. And we're going to go ahead and test the feather. I'm going to do this single, left engine first, all the way down. It's going into the feather position. And now back up. Make sure that the propeller unfeathers itself, and that was a good check. Now I'm going to check the right. And now we're bringing her all the way back up. And the engine comes back into RPM, and the propeller is unfeathered now at this point. Very good. So you notice we do we exercise the engines, propellers, in the beginning at a higher RPM. Then once we drop down to 1500 RPM, we're going to come into that, allowing that piston and that spring to really push that prop into the feathered position. I forget if it's pushing in or if it's releasing the pressure on the prop in that area. that looks pretty good. So we did check our volts and I could check my, make sure to see if I have a light. Let me just scroll down here a little bit. There we go. Left alternator is off, so it's showing the light. And let's check the right alternator. And yes, it's showing a right. Let's put that back on. Gyro pressure looks really good. Let's bring our power down to about 12 inches on the manifold pressure. Oil temperature checks, both. Oil pressure, both. Looks good. Throttle friction is checked. All right, we are pretty much checked out on the engine. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set up for our takeoff. Let's do our before checks in here. What I like to do is do a cliff check. Compass, let's check. Compass is about 320. Let's double check our HSI. 320. That letter C, I'm going to check my circuit breakers. All circuit breakers look like they are in and checked. Left-hand side and right-hand side. Next thing I'm going to check is my cowl flaps. They are both in the open position. And if there's any clutter on the floor, looking good. Cliff, compass, lights. Let's check our lights. We're going to go ahead and put our takeoff lights on. And then we're going to check the letter L for latches. Windows are latched. My little access window and door is latched. And any passengers and our seat belts are latched. So the cliff check, compass, lights, and now instruments. Airspeed indicator is indicating 0. We're getting a little bit of gust from that straight in wind. The attitude indicator is straight and level. The altimeter we do have set in there. If you ever really need to check the altimeter setting, a real quick way would be with your keyboard handy on your main screen. Hit the letter M. And if you should see the current airport. If not, if it's scrolled out pretty far, just look for the pink colored airplane. Your airplane is going to be in the center somewhere. And you can come to the airport and click on that. And that will give you, if I close that out, come over here, click on the airport, and we can move the aircraft. And then we can check details. I can look here. My details are the important things is, here's the altimeter setting is 29.82, and I'm looking at winds out of 300 degrees, true, and 17 knots, gust up to 29. Okay, visibility is 10 miles. Normally I'm flying in IFR conditions or doing that, but sometimes I just find it more enjoyable to be able to see the ground and the things that are around us. So other than that, if I really want to do a weather check, I can come in here, hit the letter M for map, and do it. And then you can hit the letter M there, or hit that little red dot. My aim is off. Back to the instruments. Turn coordinator is straight and level. Ball's in the center. Attitude indicator shows the current heading. Vertical speed indicator showing 0. The ADF unit we are not going to use. The DME unit is in the on position because we will be using that. And let's look at the instruments here. The manifold pressure is low, and that represents what the throttles are set at. RPMs, we have the prop controls forward. Fuel flow is about right for what we are at idle. There's no stuck gauges there. The cylinder head temp is, not too warm yet, but it's registering there. Our EGT needles are definitely down below because we haven't really leaned out the mixtures at this point. Checking our engine temps, we're looking at just in the green, and pressure is still in the green. We do have full fuel. approximately on both engines. The ammeters here, if it's getting colder and it's getting to be wintertime, I might want to just check to see if let's take a look at our prop heaters. You know, for de-icing, I turned that on. The propellers are receiving amperage for the boots on there. That warm up will release any ice built up, so I can see that's also happening. Also, I might want to check my surface, my wing de-icers. That goes up. I'm going to look for the increase in pressure. I can look outside. I can see that the bladders on the leading edge of both wings from my vantage point are expanding out, and then I verify that the pressure has reduced. So everything is looking pretty good. We see that we have our voltmeters down here, and with a little bit of power. I think you can see when we did check the left alternator in there and the right alternator, and you can see the voltage change. You can also check both of those there. I forgot to do that with the alternator check up there, but that was basically checking the annunciator panels. Okay, this is our pre-takeoff. So compass, lights, instruments. Well, something else too with the letter C we can do. We're going to go over to the control tower frequency. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right down here. Let's change that to 120.5. There we go. And I'm going to put the tower frequency up in there. That's already set. I'm going to make sure my DME unit is on. I do have the frequency, since we're going to do a DME ARC. I know it is going to be 110.2, so that is in the GPS nav number 1. And I do see the distance of 12.2. Okay. At this point, I'm going to take a look at nav number 2, and I have 10.2 in there, which is going to go to the second nav unit here, the VOR, radio navigation. We also want to check to say, okay, are we in GPS mode or are we in localizer mode? So right now I'm in VOR localizer mode for the HSI and the GPS. Okay, we notice up here we are in nav 1 for our information. I could go to nav 2 for information also, and then we can go strictly to GPS via the selector knob at the top. Or I could just hit this little button on my Garmin. Excuse me. Compass lights, instruments, flaps. Let's go ahead. We're going to use 10 degrees flaps. And the next point is flaps are 10 degrees. Let's verify our fuel selector valve are on. If I move forward a little bit, I can see the little red knobs on there. Give me a little room there, guy. You can see we are in the on position just down here in the bottom area. There's a lot to this airplane. Cowl flaps are up. I'm just going right up the middle here. Mixtures, I'm going to go forward. Props are forward. Throttles are higher. Verify the gear handle is down. Gas, undercarriage, mixture props. And I like to come in here with the fuel pumps are on. And again, so before takeoff, check our checklist here. Flaps is 10 degrees. Props are there. Check. Mixture check. Boost pumps. Oh, actually, boost pumps, they want them off. Let's leave them there. Doors are closed and latched. Everybody's seatbelts are still on. Cowl flaps we verified are on. Selectors are on the main in that area. The next thing we have is our takeoff briefing. And I'm going to go ahead and brief that just prior to departure. Okay, next thing is we're going to fly this DME ARC, so let's kind of bring up my custom-made DME ARC in Little Navplane. And here you see, once again, I'm going to go ahead and let's turn this off so I have a better view. And let's take a look at our Little Navmap. Scrolling just a little bit. As you see, we are right here at Lehigh Valley International Airport. We're going to climb out. We're going to take off on runway 31, as you see where we're sitting right there. And we are going to do a right climbing turn outbound and come back and re-intercept this radial. This radial that I have put in here comes off of the East Texas VOR, and it's approximately 070. So when we come up to that radial, we will turn left and intercept that and fly that to our first fix, which is named after the rock band Kiss. I named the first one Gene, the second one's Paul, Peter, and then Ace Frehley, who is my idol, and so forth. Then if I were to look at those positionings, I can just come in here and put a measurement, and just looking at that, it is approximately 7 degrees magnetic off of there. Now if I wanted to see what it is off of this one for like in there and do a cross reference to it from the FJC, that's a TACAN actually, VOR, is about 230 degrees magnetic. So I could triangulate this thing in here. I'm not trying to make it complex, but if we were given cleared direct to Gene and we wanted to know when we were there, maybe we got our clearance here instead of intercepting the 070 radial and flying that to Gene, probably a heading of a 230 or 250. We might just pick up that direct radial. And how do we know when we are exactly at Gene? We could use the radial from East Texas VOR, or we could use this 227 radial from FJC, which would show that first initial one. But we don't want to make this all that complicated. I'm going to go ahead and remove the measurement there, and let's go ahead and remove the measurement there. And we also have, if we're on this radial, once we get to Gene, we're going to use the it's going to be the 7 nautical mile DME unit, DME distance, which we could find on our GPS or as well as our standalone instrument in the Baron. What is that heading? So when we come out, generally these things are 90 degrees, as I explained in my previous video, but we could get a general idea that if this is north and this angle is here, it looks like it's about 340. So when I'm flying outbound on a heading of 270, approximately, whatever that might be, I don't even know what that is. That means this would be like the 090 radial that we're on. I could take a look at this real quick and say my first turn to the right is about 335 degrees. That's going to get me started. 335 degrees at 7 DME will get me started in the right direction. It looks like we will be doing a left radius all the way around. Going to go ahead and remove that. And once again, this is going to tie into a GPS number 7 approach. We can brief that approach once we're up here in the air. So basically, it's the old twist 10, turn 10 scenario all the way around, or actually when you're entering the arc, you probably go twist 10, turn 80. You've heard that, and then we twist that 10 in, we do our 80 degree turn to the right, and then at that point then we pick up on the twist 10, turn 10. We've all heard it. If you have any questions on how I created this DME ARC, just be free to look back at my previous videos, and you'll see in there a DIY custom made DME ARC that I furbished off of a VOR that's close to the departure airport and also my arrival airport, and I made this for practice. I think what we're going to do is we'll do a right climb out, re-intercept the radial inbound, and then at that point we're going to climb up to 4,000 feet, and then we'll transition down to 3,000 feet, which will be our first initial approach fix for Queen City Airport. Let's go ahead and get our navigation set up. Well, we already said it looks like our first turn is going to be to 340. So knowing that, I'm going to go ahead and put my heading bug into, what we said about 335 in there. Also, we know the frequencies is going to be 110.2, so we have that installed into nav number 1. And since we're going to use nav number 2, we also have nav number 2 all set in there. I know that I'm going to be flying outbound, probably going to be intercepting that 090 radial out of Allentown, so I'm going to put my HSI indicator onto 270. Now I know when I make that first turn, if you're referencing my DIY chart, you'll see that the first radial, I gotta look at that real quick. Back on this again, we notice is that's a 090 07. The difference, the degrees in here, probably I think I know what I did here. If I were to take a look at that actual course or that bearing to the station, if I parallel that, it gives me about 80 degrees. So 10 degrees to the right of that 80 degrees would be 70 degrees. And you'll see what I mean at this point. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. So this is so my first twist 10, if this looked approximately 80, I'm going to go ahead and put my first 10 degrees. That's going to be 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, and 360, approximately off of this VOR. These things aren't really on 360, but notice that as in there. So I'm going to put my secondary DME on a 070, and that's going to start the spoke system going around the DME ARC at 4,000 feet. If that makes sense, I hope it does. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to set this to 070. And since we are east of the station, we should be getting a from indication. Let's just double check that now. We do have a from indication, because if we were going to get into the clouds right away, definitely want to see that. And then we have this 270, since we're flying to the station, we should see a 2 indication. And you know that the heading indicator is in this quadrant of the VOR. This VOR doesn't have the 45-degree marks in between all of this, but we could imagine those. Oh, that's for another time. So okay, let's get ready to start. We can go ahead and identify our nav aids. I have my chart out, and I'll check the DME also. Okay, we did our cliff checks, comms, communications. Let's make sure 120. Let's go put our transponder to altitude, and we are ready for takeoff. One thing I want to do, next thing we're going to do, I forgot, is, you know what, I want to set up my, I want to see that DME ARC in here. One of the reasons I created this DME ARC and put these points in here is that I can get this to show up into my Garmin 530. Well, let's go reduce that. I'm going to pull up my Garmin 530, and let's go to flight plan. Let's make sure that the airport first thing is not highlighted. We're going to go ahead and get the little arrow on the inside of the cursor. You can see right here, You have the big radius arrow, and then we have the small one. Once you have the small one, go ahead and click on that, and that will bring up all of the flight plans that you've created and saved into that FMS folder that we have talked about previously. So I'm going to go ahead now, click once on my cursor button. I'm going to come to the big 2982. And let's go ahead and scroll and look for our destroyer DME ARC that I custom created in the previous video. And there it is, destroyer. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, just like we did before, and there you see it. Right into the DME, or my Garmin 530 unit. The next thing I want to do, since I had created this in Little Navmap and then I saved the flight plan into the folder, it automatically saves if you set the destination to output FMS folder in there. Now I want to come up into my flight plan, and let's go ahead and highlight the departure airport. I'm going to scroll down to my destination airport. And once again, I've explained this in my previous video. I'm going to go ahead and clear out Queen City Airport and hit enter. Yes. Now we went to the last initial approach fix in the ARC, and as I scroll down, let's just double check. It picks up Doster, Yezo, and then runway 7, and also we have our missed approach segment that's on the plate. All right. At that point, I'll just click the button, undo that. I'm going to go ahead and hit a flight plan and to get the DME ARC back again. So once again, we're going to depart, do a right climbing turnout. We're going to intercept this radial outbound. It looks like about 270 will get us there. And then we're going to get the gene, which is 7 DME. And we have our secondary VOR set up on 070. Once we get going, then we're going to put this set our HSI up for the flying the DME ARC, so that when we do have it, we will put this right on 070 also. Okay, well, let's go and see how it works. Thank you for your patience. Again, like I said, if you're sitting here watching all this, feel free to jump ahead. And disregard that Windows setting things. That's just something in my computer. I don't have Windows in here. Okay, let's go ahead and let's proceed for our takeoff. Parking brakes off. We do have windy, gusty conditions. All right, during takeoff, if we lose an engine during our takeoff roll, we're going to close the throttles and stop the airplane on the remaining amount of runway. If we lose an engine after rotation and there's suitable runway left, we're going to go ahead, reduce the throttles to idle, and land the airplane on the remaining amount of runway. Bring the airplane to a stop, and if we're still able, taxi off of the runway to the next available taxiway, and let ATC know what our situation is. If we lose an engine after departure and there is not suitable runway left, we're going to go ahead and aviate, navigate, communicate. So then we're going to go mixtures forward, props forward, throttles forward, flaps up, gear up. If we're at altitude, we'll follow our engine out procedures, do that. And if we have to get into a situation where we're going to completely shut the engine, we're going to follow the checklist, and we'll ultimately end up feathering the dead engine. Probably will not attempt a restart with the airport available. We'll fly in single engine. Okay, other than that, let's go ahead. Takeoff briefings are complete. We are already at 50 minutes. Oh my goodness. Okay, takeoff. We're going to use 10 degrees flaps. We're set in there. Throttle's full up and down. Rotate. We're going to rotate at 80 knots. VY is going to be 101. Flaps up, gear up. Our climb, we're going to go, once we get into the climb, about 120 knots. We're going to be looking at 25 inches on the power. And mixtures are forward. Fuel pumps are off. I usually have the fuel pumps on during takeoff, so there. Cowl flaps will remain open and the landing lights will come off. And then cruise, we're probably going to be looking for about 20 inches on the manifold pressure and 20 RPM on, excuse me, 2,000 RPM on the instruments. And we are cleared for takeoff. We are on the tower frequency. I can turn off column number 2. We do have approach set in there. And let's roll. Full power. Airspeed's alive. Instruments in the green. Power sounds good. $80 knots, rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. Looking for about 120 on the climb out once we get up to about 400 feet. Tower gives us a right turn to 060 and contact approach on 119.65. Climb maintain. Let's see here. Let's go to approach. And approach bearer and 5 X-ray Sierras with you now, 1,500 for 4,000. And they let me know radar contact. And climb power 25. And flaps up. Prop sinks go on. Yaw damper is on. We are in GPS mode. Accelerating to 120. .20 060. And tower continues to, let's see, I'm sorry, approach clears us to our onbound course to Eugene. We're going to do a right turn to 210. Doing our climb checks. Mixtures forward. Props are at 25. Power's at 25. Landing lights, takeoff lights, all that stuff can come off. 3,000 for 4,000. And we'll use 210 to intercept the outbound course here. Happened pretty quickly. Take a look at our GPS unit, and as you can see, right there we are. Let's take a look at the Little Navmap. And here we are coming in. It looks like it's going to be a right turn to our outbound 5 miles to Jean. I'm going to get rid of this. Course is coming in. Do a right turn. There's 4,000. Well, let's go to 4,500. And approach calls us as Baron 5 X-Ray Sierra. Climb maintain 4,500 now. Baron 5 X-Ray Sierra is 4,500 level. Alright, airspeed's increasing. Our power, we're going to bring our power back to about 19 to 20 inches. Let's bring our props down to 20 RPM, 2,000 RPM. Let's look for 4,500. Let's regain our course information. Aviate, navigate, communicate. Oh, communication's done. We are navigating. And we are trying our best to aviate. Alright, I'm all trimmed. Let's do our cruise checks. Landing lights are off. Fuel pumps off, one at a time. Let's lean the mixture out. Flaps are up, gears up. Probably want about 140. I'm going to come back on the manifold pressure to about 1800 now. Looking at our GPS, I'm just going to bring the ring in a little bit. And as you can see, we're coming up on Jean. It is a little bit to our right. DME is 9.0. And as stated before, how do we know when to make that right turn to approximately 340 to get the DME ARC at 7? Well, if I'm going 100 knots or 100 over the ground speed, I can divide that by 200, and that would give me about a half a mile turn. But I'm a little bit faster. I'm halfway in between 100 and 200. So if I interpolate that, that's going to give me about 7.98. I would say 7.8 standard rate. So we are at 8 nautical miles. After a while, you get to know your airplane. There's Jean. We're still a little bit off the course. It's not too bad. 7.4, we missed that turn. We're going to do a right turn now, standard rate. I'm going to fudge it a little bit. I'm going to do about 30 degrees. Back up to altitude. Look about 340 for 7 DME. We might come inside of it a little bit, which I prefer that to happen anyway. I don't know why we're getting pushed down because everything is set. And let's go wings level, get that altitude back. 340, let's let everything settle down now. That was one of the reasons why I put these waypoints in on the Little Navmap, and then I saved them as a FMS file there in that folder. That way I can see the actual ring here. So at this point, let's start to get our radial set up. Now we're back at altitude. Looking good. I need a little more power. 19 inches should work. And we are 6.9 DME 7. So we're going to twist 10. I'm going to take my GPS off. Now we're a localizer. Well, let's swing this around to get our needle centered where we're at. Okay. Put that there. We have a 2 indication there. Looking pretty good. 7.1. Twist 10. So now I want to twist this so that the CDI is in front of me. I always want to be flying to the needle on this one. So if I look at the heading I need, perpendicular to all of this, not parallel, comes up to about 310. So we're a little bit outside. So see, we weren't turned correctly, so we're going to go ahead and pick up 310. That's going to parallel us on the DME ARC. So I'm going to go to a heading of about 300. I'm also going to remove the yokes here on the airplane. So there's 300. We're going to hold that heading. We are a bit on the outside of the arc at 7.2. 4,500. Looking good. Take a little bit of power out. Got a climb going on. Alright, twist this so that the CDI moves in front of the airplane again. And we can see that our heading would be about 290. Right on DME, 7.0. So 290. Let's keep that perpendicular. And you can see that 90-degree angle right there. Well, let's take a look at this VOR. This looks like it's a 020, so let me keep this at 020 with the from indication. And we get some reference. There's centered, so let's go 10 degrees. And I'm going to put this at 010. Check our DME is 6.7. So now we're on the inside of the arc. So instead of making that twist 10, turn 10, I'm just going to hold my heading, and that will get me back closer to the bold part of the DME arc that we are flying. Okay, 4,500 level. Got a little bit of climb going on. CDI centered here, HSI. You notice with the HSI that there is not reverse sensing. Okay, let's get the CDI back in front of me. There we go. It's on a 180 here. This one's coming in. It's actually the radial 360, so if I were to turn this one to approximately 360. Now I could turn this completely to the opposite direction, and watch the CDI will deflect again in front of us. So now we're operating, and we have the pointer of this, which is on 360, which would be a from indication, and we have the same thing here with the from indication. Some people like to fly it that way because they know which radial it's pointing to, the radial that they were on. We are north of the station of the East Texas VOR. Turn 10, twist, or twist 10, turn 10. Okay, so let me go ahead and twist 10 here. There's our 10-degree deflection, puts us at about 350. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to turn this to 350, and notice the CDI now bumps in front of us. But with the HSI, sometimes I need to go a little bit more, so we're 340. Let's put this on 340 also. Twist 10, turn 10. What heading should I be approximately in a no wind situation? About 250. So all I have to do is look across here, and there is 250. And let's go ahead and put ourselves on 250. Kentucky windage. I will show you this again. We are from the station on 150. I'm sorry, about 160, flying through the CDI. It's now behind us. So at this point, I'm going to reach down. You know what? I'm going to put this pointer right back to where it was. It's going to now indicate a 2 indication. And let's go ahead and get our setup where we're 10 degrees. About the heading we should be flying is 240. And as you see right here, it resembles the same thing. So let's put that, see that 240 come up? So if you're ever just flying this VOR, the one that has the from indication, flying your radials, just look, come down to the center and look to the same side where the needle is with the from indication, and that will give you your general heading that you need to be flying. In other words, with the needle, it's always on the same side as the station. So we always say same side, safe side. Cruising along here, taking a look at the weather. CDI centered here. Okay, let's go 10 degrees more. And you see there, perpendicular. What's my heading? I should be on approximately 210, so we'll do a left turn at 210. We're a little bit outside of our arc, a little bit low. Add in a little bit of power. There's 210. Same thing here. Let's see what we get. 10 degrees. Well, it's showing about 210 with the from indication. CDI, same side safe. In here, CDI is in front of us. We're flying to the CDI, 4,500 feet. Our inbound course for the GPS is 070. I'm not going to switch this just yet because I'm still using it. CDI swung through, so let's go ahead and go 10 degrees more with it. Puts us about 110. Altitude's a little low, add in a little bit of power. Enjoying the weather, the view above, clouds. Oh, we're on a heading of about 200. We are inside of the arc. I haven't been paying attention to that too much, so we're just going to hold on to this heading of about 200 degrees. That'll fly us back closer to the arc. We're on the inside. Again, got a from indication. What would my heading be if I'm directly on the thing? Would be about 190, but we're holding 200. That'll help us get closer to the radial. You notice our ground speed is displayed here at 150 or so, 148. Take a look at the ground speed on this one. It's only showing 10. So that's a little trick that we used to use back in the day when we're on the DME. If we are exactly on the 7 DME ARC, I'm coming off of 200 here because of this turning tendency. CDI went through again. Let me go ahead and get that back 10 degrees. I'm going to hold 200 because I want to get back to the arc. If you're exactly on that 7 DME, in other words, you're not moving any closer to the VOR or any further away from the VOR, your ground distance will show generally possibly 0 knots. So you see here the knots and ground speed is showing 30, but our GPS is showing 40 because this is giving us information from the satellite, so it's actually got our speed hooked in there. Let me take a look at this. Let's go back. Let's get this back onto our from indication. All right, 10 degrees. We should be on a heading of about 180. We're getting pretty close to 7 DME. I'm going to twist this 10 degrees, and you notice if I were exactly on this, it would give me about 160. DME's coming back in with 7. This is the heading we should be flying to stay on this radial. We're going to go ahead and go wings level here and hold that for a while. We're back at 6.9, almost 7. There our heading, we should be flying about 160. We are 160 here. Here's 10 degrees. Let's say approach gave us a descent to 3,600 now. Leaving 4,500 to 3,600. Power is going to come down. I'm not going to change my trim or anything. Twist 10. Heading. About 150. Okay. Twist 10. Get the CDI in front of us. Let's go to 150, 140, somewhere in there. Looking for 3,600. DME is 6.9. Take a look at that airspeed again. The ground speed is 160 here. Notice it's still just about 20. That's because we're not really moving away from the station or towards the station. So these basic standalone DME units that's measuring our distance and our speed to or from the station is showing about 15 knots. If we could get that at 0, that means that we are exactly on that point where we're not moving away from it or moving to it. You know, so we're a little bit on the inside, 6.7. We're descending down. Here comes 3,600. Let's go ahead and level up. Power comes back up to about 1,800 RPM. 18 inches, let's call it. Rate of descent has stopped. We are 6.7. We're good on this heading of 140. Again, Kentucky windage. Everybody's mileage differs. This is really difficult to talk this through in here. Now, I notice we're coming into our first approach fix. Let's take a look at our GPS, our first approach fix. Initial approach fix is DOSTAR. 122.7 for the Unicom. 3,000 for the initial altitude, down to 2,300. We're going to switch over to GPS now, since we've just about completed the DME ARC. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my flight plan. I'm going to move this to DOSTAR. Oops. Let's clear that out. Move it to DOSTAR. And I want to go direct. And I'm going to activate that by hitting enter. Back to flight plan. There's our course. Notice it actually gives us the curved course going to DOSTAR. And at that point, I'm going to take my CDI and I'm going to put that to the 070 area, and we're going to put this back onto GPS. There's our course. Let's do a right turn, inbound, standard right turn. And once we're established, let's bring our power down. We're going to come down to about 13 inches on the manifold pressure. We are getting established on the course. We can go down to 3,000 feet. We're going to be looking, we're going to come out probably shortly. The GPS unit will come out of terminal and go to LP. There it is, LP plus V. We have it. We're established. You see our purple course going inbound to the final approach fix of the GPS 7, runway 7 into Queen City. Overshooting my course a little bit. I'm going to continue that turn in. 3,000 is coming in. I'm going to give myself an intercept heading. There's 3,000. Power is coming back up to about 19 inches. I'm on an intercept course for the inbound course. All right, at this point, we're going to start slowing down to our approach speed of about, let's use about 120 for our approach speed. Bring my power down to 15 inches. We'll maintain altitude. Again, I am hand flying this thing. Now you can use this for whatever kind of practice you want to. We are completed with the DME ARC. I'm going to maintain approximately 3,000 feet. Trimming off that control pressure, looking for a lower speed. Gas is on. Let's put our fuel pumps on. Our mixtures are going to go full rich. I'm going to hold the props and I'm going to hold the gear. I'm going to aviate, navigate, communicate. Approach has cleared us to change frequencies. We're going to go over to nav comm number 2. And let's give our frequency to 122.7. We're also anticipating a circle to land the runway 25. Airspeed's coming in. CDI's coming in. We can go ahead and start descending now. 13 inches. I'm going to allow the nose to fall through. I'm going to work on that airspeed of about 120. Our vertical path is below us. Increase our rate of descent to re-intercept. And we're going to fly that all the way down. There's Yazoo, final approach is coming in. Gear is going to go down. That's going to help slow us down. I'm going to put my flaps to approach. Our flap speed and gear speed, I believe, is 153 in this airplane. Course is caught. Rate of descent's going to increase. Let's verify we have 3 green. We do, 3 green. We are on glide path. Let's reduce our rate of descent to approximately 500 feet. Looking for 120. Everything going on at once. Gotta love it. Probably need a little more power. Let's come back up to 13, 15. Again, I don't have the numbers completely worked out with this airplane. I am hand flying this approach. Verify 3 green, flaps on approach. As you can see, missed approach is a climbing left turn to 3,000. Our minimum altitude, we're going to use about 1,100. Straight in is 940. If we're going to circle 1060, we'll call it 1,100. I'm off course a little bit. We'll get back to it. 070 is our inbound course. Circle to land will bring us around to runway 25. Will be a left downwind. If I can capture our course again. 090 should work. Airspeed's good. A little bit slow. A little high. Just gonna take some power out. CDI is coming back in. I do have the airport in sight. At this point, I'm going to go visual. Traffic pattern altitude would be airport elevation is 400, so let's call it 1,400. There we go. Nose goes back up. Let's go level 2,000 inches, 20 inches. Not worried about the CDI anymore. I am visual. Looking for a speed of about 100. I'm going to give myself some room. And we are on comm number 2. Let's communicate our intentions. We're going to be a left downwind for runway 25. Full stop into Queen City. Well, runway 25. I'm going to go ahead and put this on 2.5 to give me a better reference. And some last checks. Gas is on. Mixtures are forward, undercarriage down, 3 green, landing lights on, fuel pumps on, 1,400 feet. Entering a left downwind now for runway 25, Queen City. Pretty much hands off. We are off GPS, yep. And let's make a left turn downwind. Queen City traffic, Baron X-ray, Sierra is now left downwind, runway 25, full stop, Queen City. A little tight in here, you know, we got the South Mountain. There's Route 309, that leads into Center Valley, then over to Coopersburg and south to through Quakertown on down to Philadelphia. At the city of Bethlehem in front of us. South Bethlehem. Off to the left is Lehigh Valley International Airport, and up in this area is, well, right over here is Allentown. Okay, we are beam our touchdown point. Let's not go too high, we'll go back into the clouds, as you see. I'm going to take my power down to 15 inches. Circle to land, runway 25. We're pretty tight, so it's going to be a very short base leg. Gas, undercarriage, mixture, props. I'm going to hold the props till final. Gotta love that mountaintop view. I've seen this 100 times, just like this. Okay, let's do our left turn inbound now. Queen City traffic, Baron 5 X-ray Sierra, turn on left base, runway 25 full stop, Queen City. Blue line. I'm going to keep my approach coming around. We have a bit of a wind from the south, I believe. And there's the PPL building, Pennsylvania Power and Light. Gas is on, undercarriage is down, 3 green, mixtures are forward. I'll go ahead and bring the props forward at this time. Good thing we took a tight turn because the wind is blowing us out a bit. We will re-intercept this. And I'm going to go approach flaps to full flaps. a little tricky there. Looks like the weather's starting to clear out now. Okay, let's make a turn on Bravo here. Yeah, Queen City traffic, barren 5 X-ray areas, clear of runway 25, taxi for parking. Okay, I'm going to bring it to a stop here and clean up the airplane. Landing lights is off. I'll leave the taxiway light on. The fuel pumps will come off. I'm going to lean this out, and flaps. Let's bring the flaps up. And transponder can go to standby. If we were IFR, we'd be sure to cancel our IFR clearance. Since we are not at a controlled airport, we need to let them know. Probably would have done that over clearance or ground control or the approach frequency. Depends on the airport and so forth. So there we are. We're all cleaned up. I hope you enjoyed that. I tried my best. I've only flown this plane on that DME ARC once, and at 7 DME, it's a killer. Things are happening pretty quickly. I'm used to flying it in the single-engine airplane, so I hope you learned a few of the tips and tricks of flying that. Again, with the omni-bearing selector, when the CDI is with the from indication, now you see we have a to indication. When it's to the side, same side, safe, and that also gives you your heading information. If you were to take this VOR and flip it on its side like a RMI, you would see that you would have the same heading indication that you do on the HSI. So with the HSI, we can actually fly it with the pointer on the radial with a to indication. Since we do not have reverse sensing, the CDI indicator should always be kind of in front of us. So then we'll fly through that, and it'll scoot on through, and then we'll come back and train it that the CDI again moves in front of us. So we're always flying to the CDI, and above that will be the heading that we are approximately on, and then we want to take a look at our distance and make any adjustments to our heading if we're inside or outside. Like I said, everybody's mileage is going to vary, and it's kind of like Kentucky windage. You just kind of gauge the winds for what they're doing at the time they're doing, because they will change when you're on an arc. Especially like mine, it is about 180 degrees all the way through. And then one of the tricks is that with the standalone DME unit, not the GPS one, distance, if you're showing your ground speed is very slow, that's a good indication you're not moving away from the station and you're not moving towards the station, so your ground speed will be 0. If you are using your GPS, since it's coming from the satellites, it will give you your GPS information as far as the speed. So just a little trick of the trade. We used to always try to fight to get 0 knots on there to be on a perfect DME arc, whether it was 7 miles or 12 miles or a 15-mile arc. You know, the slower that speed is, the better your arc is. So just a little trick of the trade of flying a, I don't know what we used to, a tricontagon hexagon or something like that. So all of that stuff. Anyway, that's the introduction to the HSI. I hope it was enjoyable, and appreciate visiting. Again, if you want to check out a YouTube content provider, Snail Mail number 7, I'll put a link to his channel down in my descriptions. He's got great information about VFR flying, and well, he's got some information on some really cool add-ons. I know I'm going to visit his page every week to find out the new information that he's coming up with to help enhance our life as simulator pilots. Once again, thank you. This is Steve with FlightQuest.